Fireworks are one of the most recognizable symbols of freedom in America. And right now, one of the biggest names in consumer fireworks is fighting to open a storefront in the capital of Florida. But here's the twist. They hired a lobbyist to help them do it. So, is this a free market story or a big influence and power story? Maybe a little bit of both. According to reporting from WCTV, Phantom Fireworks is attempting to open a retail storefront in Tallahassee. The company hired a Tallahassee-based lobbying firm to assist with the process. City staff reportedly raised zoning and licensing concerns, and the storefront hasn't moved forward. Under Florida statutes, Chapter 791, consumer fireworks are generally legal to use on 3 specific holidays: July 4th, December 31st, and January 1st. Outside those dates, use is restricted. However, retail sales have historically operated year-round due to agricultural exemptions written into state law. Bird bangers. At the same time, local governments retain zoning authority. That means Tallahassee has the ability to regulate where and how businesses operate within city limits. So the tension here is not whether fireworks are legal in Florida. They are. The tension is whether the city can or should restrict a retail storefront that sells a legal product by state law. This is where things get interesting. I'm going to play the devil's advocate here for a second. Don't run for your pitchfork just yet. Wait. If consumer fireworks are legal for sale in the state of Florida by law, and if use is legally permitted on certain holidays, then preventing a retailer, any fireworks retailer, I don't care who it is, from opening based purely on discomfort with a product can feel like the government is stepping into free market territory. Dare I say stepping on free market territory, especially in a state like Florida that's kind of built its identity around being business friendly. You could argue that a legal product should be allowed to compete like any other legal product. If the concern is misuse, that becomes an enforcement issue. It becomes an education issue. It becomes a policing issue. It does not automatically become a zoning issue. Fireworks retail in Florida is not new. The framework has been there for a lot of years. If the legislator wanted retail sales restricted further, then that's a state level conversation, yeah? From that perspective, denying a storefront can feel like local resistance to something that's already clearly structured in state law. That's my 2 cents relating to the free market. Now, let's talk about the other side of this part that for fireworks people is kind of weird to say out loud. Lobbyists. There's only a handful of companies in fireworks that would have the resources to hire professional lobbying firms to advocate on their behalf, especially over a single retail location. Phantom is one of those entities. It's not illegal. And it's not abnormal. It's a standard American business practice, in fact. Big companies hire lobbyists all the time. They advocate for their interests, and that's how the system works. But inside the fireworks industry, this lands a little differently. When you've lived in states where you've seen just how big influence and power can be with regulators and code architects, you've seen situations where one large company can stand virtually alone against a laundry list of opposing organizations and still get its way. Big influence talks. And when that big influence talks, smaller businesses, hobbyists, independent retailers, and even consumers can feel like they're elbowed outside the room where decisions shape the market where we all ultimately play. That's the uncomfortable layer to this story from my perspective. It's not about whether Phantom is good or bad. It's not about whether Tallahassee is right or wrong. It's about access and influence and who gets to shape the regulatory conversation. Does one company's opinion matter more than others? And here's where the perception becomes critical. Fireworks already operate in a very sensitive political and public safety environment. So every headline matters. When the words fireworks and lobbyist appear in the same publication, it can drive this perception that the industry is driven by power rather than safety. That perception doesn't just affect a national retailer, it trickles down to everyone else. The seasonal stand operator, the backyard hobbyist, and even the choreographer. This also kind of exposes a structural divide in the industry. Large national retailers operate in a different arena than small operators. It's the New York Yankees versus the Oakland A's. They have legal teams, they have government relations teams, they have the ability to navigate zoning disputes with professional representation. Most companies in this industry don't have that luxury. Here's the irony. Like I said in the beginning of the video, fireworks are one of the most visible symbols of freedom here in America. And one of our freedoms is the celebration of a free and open market. Yet the pathway to selling fireworks can so very often feel shaped by privilege, access, and political leverage. That tension isn't unique to Tallahassee. It's not unique to Florida. It exists in cities and states all over the country. So what's the right answer? Is it local control, where cities retain strong authority to shape their business landscape based on community priorities? Is it open competition, where any product under state law should be able to enter the marketplace without resistance? Or is the bigger issue the lack of clarity and modernization in fireworks statutes that create gray areas in the first place? Because if the law structure itself creates friction and confusion between retail legality and use limitations, then these battles are going to be inevitable forever. The real question isn't whether Phantom should or should not open a store in Tallahassee. The real question, I think, is how do we balance open competition, local control, safety, and fairness in a way that strengthens the industry rather than divides it? If you're in the fireworks world, this isn't just a Tallahassee story. It's a reminder that policy, perception, and power are always going to be part of this landscape, even when all we really want to talk about is choreography and shows and the perfect finale that brings everything home. This isn't a villain story. It's not a hero story. It's a power story. I'm Bo from the Rhythm Pyro podcast. All we love to do is talk about choreographed pyro show design, but sometimes the politics behind that product matter just as much because that's what allows us to keep doing what we love. I'll see you next time.